Welcome to this new video where we're going to talk a bit about racing game news. A lot has happened recently, so today I'll summarize it for you. We'll also discuss the former Forza developers, Horizon 5, who left Playground Games Studio to start their own racing game studio, who are giving more information about what to expect from their upcoming big racing game. So, that's the good news part of the video, because unfortunately, there are some news items that are a bit sadder about the game's recreation and Project Motor Racing. And then, we'll talk a bit about motorcycle games. Since there's a whole bunch of news that just came out about Ride 6, I hope this racing games news video will interest you. If that's the case, I'm counting on you, as usual, to show it by leaving a like, subscribing for the next videos, and leaving a little comment for the algorithm. And then, well, listen, I suggest we get started right away with the first news of the day. We're going to start by talking about the news concerning Project Motor Racing. Unfortunately, it's bad news, as part of the staff who worked on the development of Project Motor Racing have been laid off. Fire Studios is laying off staff after the game's poor launch, because Project Motor Racing kind of pulled a Forza Motor Express on us. Like Forza Motorsport, Project Motor Racing's communication heavily emphasized the game's simulation aspect. When Project Motor Racing was released, players expecting the simulation of the century were disappointed to realize that in reality, Project Motor Racing was a Sim 4. It's more realistic than Forza Motorsport, but not as much as Le Mans Ultimate. It's a game that, in reality, only appeals to a small niche of players, which I am part of. For those who want something more realistic than Forza, but easier than Automobile Stade 2 or Le Mans Ultimate, naturally, by only appealing to a small niche of players, Project Motor Racing didn't sell very well. The size of the team working on the future of Project Motor Racing has therefore been reduced. But that doesn't mean that Project Motor Racing is coming to an end. In their announcement, they confirmed that the remaining developers are fully committed to improving and supporting Project Motor Racing. We recognize the game's launch fell short of LA's and our standards. Our top priority is to regain players' trust by continually improving the game with each update. So basically, I think what you should expect with this motor racing is that, in any case, they're going to patch the game. They're going to release all the downloadable content that was announced and promised for the first year of support. What if, in the next year, Project Motor Racing turns things around because of the remaining team at Forza Studios? In that case, Forza Studios investors will likely reinvest some money to rehire staff and develop major new features for the second year of support. So we'll see in a year. If Project Motor Racing takes the same approach as Forza Motorsport, which was dismantled recently, or follows the path of Test Drive. Solar Crown had a rough launch but is improving, with a second year of support confirmed, and possibly a third. Alright, let's move straight on to the second one. Another piece of bad news like that, then after that, it'll just be good news. Let's talk about Recreation. It's a game published by THQ Nordic that seeks to be a spiritual successor to the early 2000s Burnout games, but developed with a small budget, by a very small team. The problem is, actually, it's kind of the same situation as with Project Motor Racing. It was a bit overhyped. It's not a bad game, but again, it's a pretty niche game. This game targets my generation, especially those who loved Burnout 3 and want a similar experience again. It's a niche group of players that seems insufficient for the publisher THQ Nordic, since the game's sales are lower than what the publisher expected. Three Fields Entertainment, the studio behind Recreation, is essentially shutting down. The studio director is briefly discussing what happened in an interview, explaining that at the beginning of 2025, the studio had to start self-financing. Normally, the game was supposed to be funded by the publisher THQ Nordic, but they abandoned them financially along the way. Just months before release, they stopped funding the game, leaving developers with a project too advanced to abandon, but not letting them fully finish developing the game, and to work on what we call post-launch content, meaning, well, content updates and so on. Additionally, after the game launched and sold poorly, THQ Nordic didn't pay the studio anything. As a result, the studio's survival is at stake, and the chief executive officer warned the employees that unfortunately, they might all be laid off soon. They developed an update that will be released to all players in December 2025. It will add major features, such as crossplay, but if in a few days the studio can't find a buyer, in short, a new publisher or investor, well, that'll be the end for them. And that'll probably be the end with this studio. The hope of one day seeing a Burnout come back with as much fun and as much content as the old ones. Alright, in this video, we're of course going to talk about some good news, since we're going to talk about the former developers of Forza Horizon who are sharing a bit about their upcoming game, a few months after Forza Horizon 5's release. For context, a good number of the founding members of Playground Games, the studio that develops Forza Horizon, left. So, There were two different teams that split up. Mike Brown's team left to create an open-world racing game, which Amazon will publish, but we don't know much else about it. There was another team, Gavin Rebin's team, who also left to develop their own game. We'll be discussing this project, this game, since Gavin Rebin actually gave a short interview in which he shared some details about what their future game will look like, and also some reasons why they actually left Playground Games. I'll sum it up. Gavin Rebin said he left Playground Games because since 2018 he wanted to change Forza Horizon's concept, but Microsoft and Xbox, who fund Forza Horizon, simply refused to finance these new ideas, this new vision for Forza Horizon. He and his team finished developing Forza Horizon 5 and then left to develop their own game, with their vision for a AAA open-world racing game in 2025. Together, they founded Lighthouse Games, recruiting many former Forza Horizon developers and others from racing games like Dirt and Grid. Gavin Rebin says their new game's only similarity to Forza Horizon is being open world, and that it will be a AAA game, meaning a big-budget game. Tencent, a major Chinese company with vast resources, will make everything else different. Gavin Rebin wants to capitalize on his next game not carrying the Forza Horizon title. The interview really emphasizes moving on, trying new things, and especially innovating. He thinks Forza Horizon 5 and the Crew Motorfest are great games but lack innovation, and as time passes, even more. Unfortunately, open-world games tend to copy each other and they all end up looking the same. He also says that, in his opinion, and I think you'll agree with this, it's that there's a huge demand for quality AAA racing games. Just look at Forza Horizon 5. That's 40 million players, that's huge for him. There's a really huge demand, but the supply just isn't keeping up. That is, there are indeed plenty of indie games coming out, trying new things, but they're not being promoted by publishers. They don't have enough visibility to be known, or they don't have enough resources to really carry out their ideas. Meanwhile, anyone with enough money and resources tries to create a Forza Horizon-style game. He says Forza Horizon is likely limited by its own name, so it can only ever be Forza Horizon. We all know what to expect when buying a Forza Horizon, and if tomorrow Forza Horizon changes its formula too much, it risks disappointing the players who are waiting for it. In a niche, let's say, that's both quite specific and quite broad at the same time, so the key word for Gavin Rebin is to offer something different. It's hard to know for now what is implied by that. The good news is that he took this opportunity to announce on social media that he will be sharing more specific information about his future game in the first quarter of 2026, which is very soon, so make sure to subscribe so that when we have news about this Forza Horizon, well, we'll talk about it again. Wait for me. I have to admit, it really excites me to imagine that one day, thanks to him, we might have a kind of Forza Horizon, more realistic, much more roleplay, or focused on a whole new type of progression. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he and Maverick Studios have in store for us. In this video, I want to quickly recap all the Forza info we have. There's also plenty of details out about motorcycle games like Ride 6. We've mainly made videos about Assetto Evo and Gran Turismo 7 lately, so I haven't discussed it yet. But indeed, Ride 6 has been announced by Milestone, and it's coming out very soon. It releases February 12, 2026 with early access on February 9th. For the big version, the game costs $69 for the standard edition and $109 for the ultimate edition. The game will already offer quite a few new features. It will be modeled with Unreal Engine 5, which will allow it to look really good. Graphically, it's beautiful. And most importantly, it will benefit from two different physics systems. The game offers both arcade and pro physics. Arcade physics are simplified for new players, while pro physics are more precise and challenging. I think it's simply the biggest motorcycle game we've ever had. In any case, it's pretty crazy. What's been announced is that there are 340 bikes in Ride 6, which is huge. Ride is great because it features racing bikes like MotoGP, plus road and adventure bikes, some completely absurd stuff. There are bikes from all brands, from all origins, from all eras, with all types of engines. And that's really great. On that note, it's the Ford Xanamoto, still 140 more bikes than Ride 5. There will be 21 brands and 7 bike categories, including the return of maxi trails and scooters. We can do 24-hour endurance races with T-Maxes. Then came baggers, American-style bikes with 45 off-road tracks. It's actually the first time it'll really be used in the game. Bikes that, like the smaller ones, will be customizable and completely modifiable. A new career mode, inspired by Forza Horizon, is coming. We talked about this before the games. Everyone copies each other. Indeed, the career mode will be called Ridefest. It will be a traveling festival that captures the spirit of open-world racing games. It's good to capture the spirit. Ride 6 will remain a closed-circuit racing game, not open-world. I still hope someone creates a true open-world motorcycle racing game like Ride Horizon. With true physics, I don't get why it doesn't exist if it's the same thing. There could potentially be millions of players around the world. The campaign will be called RideFest. The goal is to advance step by step to defeat 10 motorcycle legends in various disciplines. MotoGP, road racing, motocross, and motorcycle drifting will all be featured. There will be everything. Each discipline offers dozens of races and side activities to complete before challenging the category boss. That kind of reminds me of Need for Speed in that regard. Hopefully the game won't follow the same path in terms of sales. This looks really promising. As Gavin Rayburn might say, we're not reinventing the wheel. We'll just have to wait and see. I'll keep you updated on future news about Ride and, let's say, the racing game world in general. Subscribe, like, and follow me on Twitch for live streams. The link is in the pinned comment. You can follow or use your Prime. Don't forget the instant gaming link, where you can get Ride 6 for 30 to 40% off by giving a little support to the channel at the same time. For free, thank you. And well, see you later. Ciao.